It's disinformation campaign, and it's a terrible campaign where they're trying to say this is a disaster for them. Let's blame the people that have really done something about it and can do something about it. But when your hands get tied because you no longer control the White House or Congress, it's a disgrace. Dan, we worked on it hard and we worked on it long, and we discuss it every week. And we had it down to a point that we'd never seen anything like it. I'm so glad that you mentioned the fentanyl, because the fentanyl was almost a non-factor. And now I hear it's just pouring into our country. And it's the most dangerous of all, but just pouring into our country. And we stopped also human trafficking, mostly in women. The human trafficking was almost stopped. We built almost 500 miles of wall, despite 2.5 years of lawsuits, litigation, started by Congress, Nancy Pelosi and the Congress. They sued us for everything. And we won the suits that we started, and within a few months you would have had the wall totally complete, and they ought to paint it. They're supposed to paint the wall, and they aren't even doing that. They got to get a coat of paint on the wall. Believe it or not, it does rust. Maybe that's what they like. Let it rust, let it rot. But we built a wall that was not a wall that anybody could get through. We had very few breakthroughs, unbelievably few. It just, the only breakthrough is let them walk around to the few open areas where you have, we had problems or land disputes, et cetera, et cetera. All of those problems were resolved, so we got them resolved. So you could have completed the wall in a couple of months, and they decided not to. Now I hear rumors that they want to do it, but it's only common sense. You know, they were saying we want high-tech security. And I used to go around in speeches, I said, the two things that will never get old are a wheel and a wall. And it's true. I mean, when you get right down to it, the wall worked, really worked. And again, almost 500 miles of wall, and then we had another 200 that we were thinking about doing, less important areas from the standpoint of people coming in, but nevertheless, are very important. We discussed it. And we did a great job, and within a period of a few months, it was all dissipated. Remain in Mexico, so important. Catch and release, we broke that one. Chain migration, where people come in and then they bring everybody else in with them. We did a hell of a job, and we had it down to really a science. It was down to a point where people just weren't getting in unless they came in legally. And again, the drugs had dropped by 70, 80, 90% in some cases, and fentanyl is true. It almost dropped to nothing for whatever reason, but I guess the reason was we were tough. This was a great group, and all they had to do is go to the beach. If they went to the beach and did nothing, they would have been fine. And they could have even had other people with your policies take your places if they felt that they want Democrats, but that usually doesn't work out too well. But Chad, you and Mark and Tom on the outside, I mean, it was just an amazing group of people. And I'll tell you, Brandon has been incredible. From day one, he came to me from day one. It's no games, no nothing. You knew that we were going to do it right. And I'd ask him a lot. I'd say, what do you think about this? I was calling him once every 4 or 5 days to get his advice, because nobody knows. Like, for instance, on the wall, I was going to build a very good precast concrete wall. Would have been really fast. I loved it. I was going to do super hard precast, the 5,000-pound concrete. And the Border Patrol hated it because they wanted to be able to see through. I said, why? And after we go through, then we put the panels on top. And you're all nodding, it's true. The panels on top, it's sort of a safety climb, no climb panel. And that panel adds great difficulty to being able, believe it or not, because a couple of people said, why'd you put the panel on top? And it was really a no-climb panel. It's very hard to climb it. Once you get there, then you have the panel on top of everything else. So I did it 100% as per Border Patrol, ICE, and everybody else, in conjunction even with your top people. We designed the wall. It was terrific. You know, you see it as steel, but it's not really. It's steel on the outside. It's hardened concrete on the inside of the bollards. And then it's also rebar, and it's a very heavy rebar and a very powerful rebar, very strong rebar, steel. So we had steel, concrete, and steel, and when they cut through it, they got to really want to get through. They got to really want to get through. And we've had almost no instances of that. So we built a wall that was not penetrable, and we were just about finished, and then we had an election. We really have something to be really proud of what we did, and honestly, very simply, we have to do it again. You have to go back, stay in Mexico. That was very hard to get. That took us litigation, dealing with Mexico. I really think the president of Mexico is a great guy. Surprisingly, he wants to see this worked out, because he has people pouring through his country by the millions, by the way. Not, you know, I see 100,000 here. For every person you catch, and these experts say 4 or 5 get through, but I think it's a much higher number than that. You know, it's a big border. I think it's a much higher number. Now, the wall has stopped a lot of it, and you're going to finish up some of the wall, and maybe they're going to finish it up. They're under a lot of pressure to finish it up, so maybe they're going to finish it up. You know, Tom is probably saying, I doubt it. I mean, the real question is, do they really want open borders, or are they incompetent? There's only 2 things. You're either incompetent, or for some reason you have a screw loose and you want to have open borders. Now, the problem with the open borders is that countries are opening up their jails, they're opening up their prisons, you guys see this, and they're letting all their prisoners out. You notice their prison populations are way down. They do it very slowly because they don't want people to know this, but I know it. And they're letting all of their murderers, rapists, drug dealers, and human traffickers out, and they're coming into the United States of America at a level like we've never seen. They weren't coming in with us. And in fact, one of the quick stories I tell is that when we first started, I said, get them out. And I said really more than anybody, I guess, you, Mark, you and Tom, I said, get them the hell out. The MS-13 gang members, who they say are the worst in the world, and they certainly might very well be. I see what they do with knives, where they cut them up into small pieces. They cut people up into small pieces because it's more painful than using a gun. I said, get them out. And Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador would not accept the people. Under the Obama administration, they wouldn't take the people. So the people came back to me just routine, sir, I'm sorry, but they won't take them. I said, who won't take them? Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, they won't take the people back. I said, oh, really, why? They don't want them. I said, okay. How much money do we pay them? Sir, we pay them $500 million a year. What does that have to do with it, sir? I said, a lot. We're not paying them anymore. And then I got a call the next day from the heads of the 3 countries. We would love to take MS-13 back. They are wonderful people. We'd love to have them back where they belong. And we never had a problem after that. But now I understand they're not taking them back again, because we don't deal with those countries right. I got along with the 3 people plus the president of Mexico beyond. He's a fantastic man. He really is. He's a fantastic man. Very different persuasion. His thought process is very different. Could be on the socialist side. But I'll tell you what, we worked along really well together. He's a terrific man and a terrific person, and he loves Mexico. I will tell you that. But we opened it up. They used to have airplanes on the runway, so we couldn't land our planes with their MS-13 horrible criminals in the plane. So we couldn't land them. We couldn't get buses back. And once I did that, they took them all back. So we had all these great policies going, and they were all ended. One day they were ended. This didn't take place over 3 months or 5 months. This took place in the first week. They were ended. It was almost like they were ended because I did it. But you know, we did a great job. In the history, and I appreciate what you said, Sheriff, because in the history there's never been, and not me, all of us together, there has never been a border so secure as the border, the southern border that we have. And now it's opened up. And don't kid yourself, they're coming in from the Middle East, and they're coming in and they're bad. They're coming in from the Middle East. I'd say, well, where are those people from? Sir, they're from Yemen. Oh, really, Yemen, right? How's that all about? They would dump them off in South America, and they make the journey up because it was easy to get through that way, through the southern border, and that stopped with us. That stopped fast. And now we have an open, really dangerous border, more dangerous than it's ever been in the history of our country. And we better go back fast. And you know, I watch a couple of even you people said that, well, we could start it immediately. Well, it's not going to go fast, because you have to go back now and start the whole thing up with Mexico and with the 3 countries. It's not going to go that quickly. You know, they say, well, we should just immediately go back. It's not that easy. This was a lot of hard work and very good negotiation. We did great negotiation. And we did things like, we're gonna charge you tariffs if you do this or if you do that, and all of a sudden they said, well, we'd love to have you have it your way. We want every point, every single point. And I don't know if they're gonna be able to do that. So it's not that easy to go back, I will tell you. This is bad news for you, and you know it. And a lot of people like to say to the media, well, we could immediately, I saw it today, we should immediately go back to the Trump policy. It's not that easy now. It's not that easy. But we have a sick country in many ways.